Hey folks, Joe Valley here, one of the hosts of the Quietlite podcast. As you know, I'm a partner at Quietlite brokerage and a serial entrepreneur. I've built, bought, or sold over 6 different companies now, and I'm also a partner here at Quietlite. I've been self-employed, if you can imagine. I'm sure you can if you're watching me on YouTube. I've got some gray on the chin since 1997. Back then, I ran a radio media buying agency, kind of what people do in the digital world now. I also produced and aired 2 television infomercials for my own products. I even co-hosted one of the shows. My wife was the other part, and she did a much better job than me. I'll have to say it right now. She doesn't listen to this though. So I moved my last brand 100% online in 2005, and then I sold it through a company called Quietlite in 2010. In early 2012, I joined the team, and since then I've sold about 100 million in total transactions, and I'm just one of 12 advisors on the team. So today's episode is brought to you by Quietlite, a small to middle market entrepreneur-led M&A firm focused on online businesses only. Everyone on the team has built, bought, or sold their own online businesses and now act as advisors to other entrepreneurs seeking an eventual exit. No pressure. Today's guest is Stephen Pope, the founder of My Amazon Guy. Stephen was a guest last year, and the response was so strong, we just had to have him back. Stephen oversees 153 brands, producing in excess of 100 million in revenue on an annual basis on Amazon. And he employs 40 Amazon specialists. And today we're going to talk about if it's okay to have multiple seller accounts and all the nuances of it. Y'all ask me that question often, and the simple answer is yes. Stephen's going to talk about how to do it, how to set it up right, how to access them right, and all of the nuances within it. So Stephen, with that, welcome to the Quietlite podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Joe. You have had a tremendous impact on my life and in our business. When we came on your podcast last time, just my phone rang off the hook. So I'm excited to talk to you and your audience again.
Well, you're helping them, right? So that's why we're having you back. You help first, second and third.
I want to say it's like 11 of our large clients came from this last podcast. All 11 are still clients.
Brilliant. Well, they're not going away. So that's fantastic. All right, let's talk about the simple fact that, I'm getting emails and calls and whatnot on a weekly basis. If I'm at an event, people are talking about, can I have multiple seller accounts? And let me just demystify that by FBA rollups. Y'all know of them, right? So Thras is the best known one. They own multiple seller accounts because they're buying Amazon brands. And along with that, come multiple seller accounts. Even if you step outside of that, there are individuals that I know that own 2, 3, 4, 5 seller accounts. You've all heard the name Mike Jackness from Ecom Crew. He's a guest on the podcast. We've been on his. We did a series on Selling's Mike Business, Color It. Mike had 3 additional brands. At first, he had 4 brands in one seller account. In order to sell it with the best interest of the buyer in mind, Mike moved 3 of the brands out of that one seller account and opened up 3 more. And then we sold Color in its own brand. So the simple answer is, yes, you can do it. Now the logistic is how to do it right. And that's what Steve is going to tell us all about. So give us some knowledge here.
So the first thing I would say is that it's absolutely 100% kosher and agreeable to Amazon to run multiple accounts. The reason why it's gotten such a bad rap is because there were bad actors over the years who would open up multiple accounts to sell the same items across multiple accounts. That is a banned practice. So if you're doing that, this is not the podcast for you. But if you're looking to have separate business entities, separate tax structures, separate banking, separate credit cards, and separate email domains for multiple accounts, maybe you've got a scenario where you're a partial owner in one business with one stake. So let's say company 1 is owned by business partner A and B. You probably have a second company that's owned by business partner A and C. And so you need some clean books to make that happen for the very reasons you just talked about. A lot of things that people don't realize is like, how do I start? How do I go through the motions of making sure that I don't get caught, suspended, banned for having dupe or multiple accounts? Over the last couple of years, we kind of created this process where we would go to Amazon and ask for permission first. That process is no longer necessary as long as when you open up the second account or you take ownership of the second account, that you have unique business infrastructure that we listed previously in place. There is also another potential shortcut. We have direct ties to the sales team at Amazon. And anytime we have a strategic account in mind, we actually will request that they send an account invite to the new business. And so we do warm introductions to our contacts and basically outline, here is their unique infrastructure. Can we get them a seller invite? That is my number one preferred method to open a second account because it bypasses all of the identity and verification steps. Now, mind you, if you don't have that warm introduction, it's still very doable. And you just have to go in and open up the Seller Central account like you would normally by going to Seller Central. And you don't need to worry about multiple IP addresses. You don't need a VPN. You don't need, like, Amazon knows you're running multiple businesses from the same location at this.
And they're okay with it.
And they're okay with it.
Yeah.
But if you use the same credit card on two accounts, boom, you're going to get hit. Use the same bank, they're going to connect them and say multiple accounts. That's a problem.
The same bank or the same bank account?
Bank account.
Okay. So you can have multiple bank accounts at Wells Fargo or whoever you bank with. That's okay.
That's correct. So you, as long as the routing numbers, like if the checking number is different, you're good to go.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got your direct link to get it done, the preferred method to skip all the junk. The other is just go and open a new seller account. Make sure that you're not selling the same or similar brand, because that is going to be a no-no. They'll ban you from selling on Amazon, shut down your accounts because you're taking up more real estate. If you're selling glass fishing poles, you'll dominate the market there on Amazon on that, and that's a big no-no, right?
Big no-no.
Okay, so don't do that. That's just black hat, gray hat, dark gray hat. It doesn't work.
When we came on your podcast last time, I think the theme of that podcast was solve any Amazon problem ever with Stephen Pope or whatever. Yeah. So since then, we've actually built out a team of specialists who deal with problems. So like listing yanks, account suspensions and whatnot. So if you end up getting suspended due to multiple accounts, that is the hardest suspension to fight. Mm-hmm. It's doable though. And so my advice to you, if that's your situation, admit fault, tell them everything about yourself, and basically request for reinstatement. The original account that gets suspended first is the account you need to get unsuspended first. Best piece of advice I'll give on that process.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk about some of the tools that are necessary to manage multiple accounts and access multiple accounts. Historically, I have been told you should have a VPN service and you're always logging in from different ones and things of that nature. I've talked to a guy that had like 8 access.
And I think that's crazy and preposterous. Like Amazon's smarter than that.
I think it probably is as well at this point. Amazon, they know, right? Just accept that they know. So do your business above board is probably the best practice. I've always said, if they say no, reach out to Seller Central. If they say no, call 10 more times, ping them 10 more times, maybe 20.
Squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Eventually you'll get a yes. You just got to get to the right person. Once upon a time, I reached out and said, can we sell these? Are these accounts transferable? No. And finally I got the right person. They said, yes, this is exactly how you do it. And that's where the original 10 steps to selling an Amazon business came from. And that was back in 2015 or something like that. Anyway, let's talk about how to manage these. What is, you gave me an acronym, OTP. What is it and what does it do?
One-time password is the bane of my existence, or it has been. It's no longer because I solve for it. So if you run multiple accounts and you're logging in, here's what kills me. So here's a little bit of history. Amazon changed in, October-ish, September-ish, somewhere in that time period. And it made it so if you ever log out, you have to re-clear the OTP. They no longer save the OTP on your device, even though there's a button that says save OTP on this device. It's a lie. The reason is because there was massive hacking going on. And so I'm a personal believer that there's a huge hidden technology war going on behind the scenes. And quite frankly, it's China. But with that in mind, how you deal with it and manage it. And we like to use a Chrome extension. This is going to be a massive game changer for you. If you haven't ever used a Chrome extension for OTP, this will blow your mind. But basically what you do is you log into Seller Central, you go into the login settings, and then you add a new mobile device. And when you click that, instead of doing your mobile, you're going to scan the QR code using what looks like kind of a snipping tool inside of the Chrome extension, and it will save the QR code to your Chrome browser. And then anytime you log in, you just click a button and it fills in the OTP and you're done.
What's the name of the Chrome extension?
So it is called the Authenticator.
Okay. Simple.
We'll give you a link to that in the description. So you can put that in the description. And so I absolutely love this tool. And here's why it got exasperated and why we had to do this, right? So I have 40 employees. We run more than 150 accounts. And so we're using multiple email addresses. We're logging in constantly. By the way, I've never once run into any dupe account issues from having multiple people log into your accounts. That is not something you need to worry about. So if you're inviting an agency to your account to manage it, that's safe. Don't worry about it. We're what they call integrators, and they're well aware of us. So with that in mind, this became a giant problem because the OTP no longer saved on a device. So what would happen is we would log out of one account and log into the next, and basically it would re-trigger the OTP. Well, here's the cracker or the kicker. It would cap at 40 text messages per email per day. So if we're switching more than 40 times or logging in 40 times on an email, it would completely kill it. And so I had this really sophistication set up with Google voice numbers to send my OTP out to my team. And I'd use the same Google voice number for all accounts for my OTP situation. And so I had it all automated. It was happy days and I never had to worry about it. Then they capped it at 40 and then they didn't save the OTP in the device. And so that's why this exists. So Chrome extension is your number one tool for authentication on OTP.
Then it's called the Authenticator. That's great.
You got it.
Wonderful.
Another login tip I'm going to give you, and this doesn't require any tech. So there's what's called the merchant picker inside of Amazon. And this is the ability to switch from one account to another. Whatever you do, this is the takeaway of today's podcast. Like, write this in giant red lettering and whatnot. Never, ever put the same admin email address onto any other Amazon account. I guarantee you, if you do that, it's toast. It's going to burn it. So what do I mean by that? The main super admin that opened the Seller Central account, do not use this email on any Amazon property of any kind. Don't even use it for a personal business. If you open up, so let's say you got like a Gmail address and you open up Seller Central under your Gmail and you used to use that as your personal. Well, those two things are linked for life. So when you go to sell that business, have you run into this, Joe? I'm curious if you have.
Yes.
Guess what? Your personal buying history, maybe those things you bought that are private, well, now they're public because you're selling them.
Yeah. The other thing you got to do, folks, is if you ever plan to sell your business, your FBA account, whatever it might be, if you're using your personal email address, it just makes the transfer more complicated. So you should not be using your personal email address as your admin. You should be professional and set up a separate email address specifically for admin. That way it transfers at closing. Because occasionally, look, we know that these seller accounts transfer. Otherwise, Thras wouldn't have bought 100 of them already, or however many they've bought. They probably bought 2 more today. They transfer. We know that they transfer. But sometimes, and I say sometimes, but we only had it happen once, but we get reports from lots of other people that have bought direct in a panic that call us. The bots, the Amazon bots, don't talk to the humans. And so when you transfer and you update the banking information, the EIN number, a credit card, and the email address, your account could be suspended. It still operates, but you can't draw any money out of it. And so then you have to submit a ticket. The original owner of the business has to submit a ticket and get it reinstated. It's the email address that you're changing that triggers the suspension. So, having an admin email address with each individual seller account, I think is a critical piece of information here.
And I have to emphasize the domain thing that you mentioned, right? So like, go out and put your email under the domain name, because man, anytime you get an email address from a Gmail, like how many times, like Joe, how many times a week or even a day you're getting emailed from some Indian and he wants to pitch you SEO services and he's emailing you from a Gmail address. Do you even give them any credence? Like, not right.
Not really, but we operate everything inside of Gmail, but it's at quietlite.com. So it's a different
G Suite. That's different than, but what I'm saying, like at the Gmail domain, right? So
yeah, I hear you.
I'm hitting on that because I have a lot of people who still do business under their Gmails and at gmail.com. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
You can still use G Suite and have your domain name to be professional. Anyway, so back to the merchant picker. Here's the hack. If you have 2 accounts or more, have a unique admin on each account, which we covered. And then if you want something to make it easy so you can switch between accounts seamlessly without logging in and logging out, put a third email address that you've never used before on any admin account and invite it to all of them. And then you could log into that address and you don't have to switch the settings. You don't have to switch the notification settings. Like this could be an email you never check, but you just simply use it to log in. Then in the top middle right, you have a merchant picker. You can click on the drop down and then switch between your accounts.
That
makes it really easy and seamless.
You don't have to, and that's what you do as an agency, I would imagine, right?
It's what we used to do. Okay. So for 2 or 3 years, we did it this way. And now you can actually say, so like, let's say you got 10 accounts. Let's say you're getting really sophisticated, right? So we created a Google Sheet where we list a link to each direct login for every account we operate. So now, and by the way, it's not like a hidden link or anything. It's just simply like the first time you log in and you land, that URL right there can be saved to log in. So there's an agency who's listening to this right now and their mind's been like, whoa, like this is gonna be a huge game changer for them. I guarantee you, Joe, you're gonna get like 2 or 3 emails from agencies that are like, whoa, this is game changing for us. But like, you can then save those links. So now let's say I'm creating a task for somebody in my company. I can just like put into the Asana task, like, okay, log in here. They click on the link and it auto logs into the account. It really, really helps.
Wow. Auto logs them in. That's kind of good. Yeah. Let's touch on, what is kind of, I think there's an obvious answer, but let's just touch on it anyway. And that is why would somebody want to have 10 accounts or 2 accounts or 5?
Well, I think the most important thing is the business ownership stakes are going to be different. You're going to have different partners, right? The second thing is what if you wanted to have a unique display name showing up on Amazon, right? So I own a brand called Momster. I have the #1 funny wine glass on Amazon. And in fact, if you go into Amazon.com and you just simply type in wine glass, I'm in the top 2 or 3 organic hits. So in any case, I sell under a brand called Momster. Well, let's say I'm going to come out with a lighting brand. Well, I'm going to have a completely different brand name for said lighting brand. Well, I wouldn't want my display name to be Momster on the lighting brand because then the men probably wouldn't buy from me because it's targeted towards females because 70% of my business on the wine glass business is female. So with that in mind, having a unique display name, which you can change in about 5 seconds, super easy. I'll send you guys a link on how to change your display name because anytime I log in and I see somebody's got like, I don't know, random company name, LLC as their display name. That's not customer friendly, guys. Cut the LLC off your title. Your legal name has nothing to do with your display name, and your legal name and your display name have nothing to do with your brand name. They're all mutually exclusive. So
wait a minute. So the display name is not going to be your brand name?
It could be. And so in this case, I'm suggesting if you have an account with 10 brands, then you have to have the same display name across all 10 brands.
You do.
But if you separate the display name, right?
Oh, so with one account, right?
With one account, right?
One account with 10 brands.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And there's probably a few people that are listening in that don't know the difference between display name, legal name, and brand attributes. So I want to briefly paint that if I can.
Okay.
So your legal name is the behind the scenes, never customer facing legal entity. So company name, LLC. Simple. The display name is the seller central name that shows the ships and sold by Momster name. You can have that to be whatever you want. It is 5 seconds to change a display name, and you can change it repeatedly with no complications or problems. The brand attribute, though, is immensely difficult to change. And if you're switching the brand attribute, maybe you filed your trademark as a creative mark instead of a word mark. #1 problem I see. Attorneys love filing trademarks, but they don't understand how Amazon works. I have personally filed more than 200 trademarks. And by the way, you can now file a trademark and get your brand registry in under 7 days without the IP accelerator. This is breaking news. Like instead of spending $1,500 to file a trademark, we're able to now file a pending mark for $775 and go in and get brand registry in under 7 days. So if you're interested in learning more about that, hit me up. But in any case, so back to the word and the creative mark, right? So like The creative mark is interpreted by Amazon, right? And so when somebody files a creative mark, all of the words and the lettering is interpreted by some guy at Amazon. And so if you do a creative mark instead of a word mark, they might interpret it differently than you anticipated. Let's say you have your brand name and then you have a tag or a saying underneath it. And it's also a 3 or 4 word saying.
Okay.
And you filed that as a creative mark. Well, Amazon would interpret that as that 4 or 5 word name, and that's your brand attribute. That means you have to list all of your brand names with the 5 word tagline. And if you don't get access to A+ content. You don't get your brand store, nothing. So file a word mark. Best advice I'd give on trademarks. I'm
going to assume that this is overwhelming and confusing for a lot of the audience because it's such deep, detailed information. I don't have a seller account. Actually, I do. It's for the book that's coming out, but I don't do anything with it at the moment. So folks, if it's overwhelming, hit rewind, back it up 30 seconds, listen to Steven say it again, and then reach out to him because this stuff, if you get it wrong, it's hard to fix, right? I mean, you do a lot of fixing of accounts when people have troubles. Part of your service.
And most agencies hate this stuff. Like they don't want to touch it because it's messy. It's super dirty work. But we focus on this. This is core for us. So switching brand names is a mess, but you totally have to do it if you need it to match your trademark. But if your trademark name is too long or it's messy or it's a creative mark, start from scratch, file a new trademark. You can get your new brand registry in under 7 days, which you couldn't do before. You used to have to wait 6 months for the principal registry.
Gotcha.
So I know I'm jumping around a lot. It's just kind of the ADHD in my mind. So apologies for that for those that can't follow. But we do have specific guides on any one of these specific questions we've brought up. And I'm going to send Joe a pile of links and I'll let him decide which ones to put in. Like I even have like a 20 video series on brand registry, like every problem you could ever face on the brand registry, brand name changes, brand node ID issues, your brand registry doesn't show up on your account, which by the way, this is exacerbated with the multiple accounts, which is why it's topical to today's podcast. As you scale, you need to be very methodical on how you file your brand registry. And my advice is file the brand registry under the admin email of the account on Seller Central. If you fail to do this, you may not be able to connect the right brand registry to the right Seller Central account to build A+ content and your brand store.
All the things that can go wrong just when you least expect them to. I even called Steven a week ago just to ask about promo codes because I know somebody that, including myself, when I used to have a seller account, that did a discount and I screwed it up and I sold, 900 units in an hour at $1 each. It cost me $15 each. I sold 900 at $1. Didn't really work out that well. I have somebody that almost lost their business and their home because they did the same thing on Super Bowl Sunday of 2020. And, somebody came in and there are bots that pick this stuff up and just take all the products. So you got to do it slow, do it right, and do all of these things with the future in mind because you are putting your life savings on the line. You're putting time and effort into building a business that someday could become your most valuable asset when you exit, and you got to get these details right. Speaking of jumping around, Steven, I'm going to jump to something that I know is new and improved on Amazon. For a long time, they had subscribe and save, but there were no good reporting associated with it. I've got a listing that's launching next week. Finally, I'm able to get good reports on subscribe and save. Can you touch on that a little bit? I know we didn't prep for this, but...
No, that's okay. Anytime you want to ask me any Amazon question on the fly, it's kosher. Okay. So subscribe and save used to be manual and you could like enable and disable it. Then they automated it. Then they added the feature where you could add a percentage off. And then they came out recently with a new dashboard and reporting system so you could see like the impact of subscribe and save. And by the way, if you ever go out of stock for a set time period with FBA, your subscribe and save could be terminated. You want to double check that it gets re-enabled. We had one account that sold some IBS supplements. When we got back in stock and got it re-enabled, they had a single day order for like 500 units out of subscribe and save. So super unusual. I didn't expect it to happen, but they can be backlogged. So there are some bugs on that too.
Yeah.
But long story short is you can now run reporting to see what your subscribe and save looks like and have a little bit more intel on it.
Yeah. And the value that creates is pretty substantial. As we're talking here, I'm going to start clicking some links here and pull up reports, but the details are pretty beneficial for you to understand in terms of lifetime value of a customer, how much predictable revenue you've got coming up in the next 30, 60, 90 days, and what it does for those businesses that have some recurring revenue. You just mentioned an IBS supplement, perfect example. What it does for them.
IBS ain't going anywhere.
It's no, it's not. It gives you an indication of how many new subscribers you've got, what your subscriber average order value or lifetime value of a subscriber is versus a non-subscriber. I popped up a screen here. I'm looking at it. The lifetime subscriber is $158.22 versus $70.43. How important do you think that's going to be to a purchaser of your business?
Huge, because like in e-commerce, your job is to do four things. And I'm stealing this from Harry Joyner.
Okay.
Sell more products to more people more often for more money. And the one that everybody always forgets is more money. So raising your prices is usually the first lever to pull, but that average order value is often highly forgotten, right? So like your ability to take the data that you just presented there to articulate that instead of running, a 35% ACoS on your advertising, it's acceptable to do 45% because your lifetime value is triple what you thought it was, especially if they hit subscribe and save. That allows you to go out and be more aggressive with your marketing dollars, which means you grow your business faster. And that means your EBITDA is going to go up because you grew it faster.
Yeah. I think these new subscribe and save reports will do a number of things for you internally with planning, emotionally, cash flow, and inventory. So as I look at this one here, it literally says planned revenue, 30 days out, $101,047.22, 60 days out, $226,056. What it's doing there is taking into account the new subscribe and save revenue and adding to it. 90 days out, $342,000. So for you can go, okay, where's my money coming from? What's my margin on subscribe and save? How's my cash flow looking? And you can, pay yourself, add new products, knowing that you're going to have some, predictable recurring revenue coming in. And then it talks about planned units. In this case, 30 days, 2,700 units, 60 days, 6,063, 90 days, 9,189. Now you can do some more inventory planning that's a little bit more specific on top of all the other tools that you use, because you don't want to run out of inventory for multiple reasons. One that Stephen just talked about, the other, because it's lost revenue. Running out of inventory is the worst possible thing to do, especially if you're trying to sell your business and 12 months prior, you ran out of inventory for 3 weeks. You're going to be challenged to get your, rankings back up to exactly where they were. But you're also losing that profit as well. But it's hard. I think anyone I've ever spoken to that runs an FBA business or has an e-commerce business that's growing like crazy has run out of inventory at one time or another. It's kind of impossible to avoid unless you're really, really good at projections.
The concept of just-in-time supply chain management is dead. I did a post-mortem on it. Quite frankly, if you want my advice, I think you need to have your own warehouse in 2021, and you need to have a year's supply of your own products. Now, mind you, I'm saying this knowing that there's going to be some angry comments where they're going to say I'm crazy and that then you're going to be overstocked and all those problems. Well, black swan events are just starting. If you think COVID's the end of black swan events, and what do I mean by black swan? Highly improbable, unpredictable events of great importance are coming. I guarantee we are just beginning to see these kinds of challenges. So the more control that you have, the better off you're going to be. A quick comment on the dashboard, and I'll wrap that dashboard comment up. But the Amazon's made a lot of challenging changes that have frustrated us as Amazon sellers, right? SKU limitations, IPI, the list is long. Like if we made a Facebook post, I'm sure we'd get like 100 different things that would come out. They have done one thing that I really think they should deserve credit for. And so when we looked at the Thanksgiving of the year, if you will, for things that Amazon has done right, and that is they've given us more intel and analytics, way better UI changes. Like just even last week, you can now drag and drop photos instead of having to re-upload them. Small changes like that are mountainous changes that make me feel good inside. I do believe that Amazon does care about us as Amazon sellers. but it's become.
I do as well, just for the record.
But I do know that Jeff Bezos is also on record saying he wants to get off the rock. And I literally mean take a spaceship and leave. So if you think that you can complain to Jeff Bezos about the current challenges and frustrations, probably not going to get heard too much. But I do think we're at a breaking point that enough sellers are fed up. So take like the SFP change, for example, where you have to start sending out SFP shipments on Saturdays, which goes into effect.
What does SFP stand for?
Seller Fulfilled Prime.
Okay.
And so the Jewish community is in giant up in arms, right? Because that's their Sabbath. And now Amazon's dictating how they deal with their own businesses and how to run it. So there are massive problems that are occurring and big talking points to have. But I got to give it to Amazon on this one. Great dashboard improvement. The brand registry analytics dashboard, if you haven't taken a moment to go look at that, it's incredible. Incredible amount of data. Demographics, you can see gender, you can see age groups. Go check it out. It's not going to give you the target demographic conversation. And I love to use this metaphor. So like if you were selling Russian mail order brides today, your target demographic would be 3-time divorced truck drivers, right? Like that's a target demographic. If you're selling a toothbrush and you tell me your target demographic's anybody with teeth, I would say you're wrong. You're crazy. You have to tailor in way deeper than age and gender and all that good stuff. To get your target demographic. But at least you have a starting point now with Amazon where they give you those analytics.
That's fascinating. What's coming up in 2021, right? We're recording in January. This is going to air in last week of February or so. What can we expect for the last 10 months of the year with Amazon changes coming up in the future?
It wouldn't surprise me if this prediction comes true by the time this airs. I think we're going to see Amazon video ads, which are super hot. You got to be doing those. I think we're going to start to see them display on Twitch. I think we're going to see Amazon products display video ads on Twitch. That's my prediction. And
why just Twitch? Why not all the social media outlets? And I'm look, Twitch to me sounds like something that my kids do. They play video games.
Underestimating Twitch power right now.
I think I am. What the hell is Twitch? What does it do? Who's the audience? All that. Tell us that.
Yeah, I'm some of the audience is getting dated here. But Twitch is owned by Amazon. Amazon owns like half the economy. People don't realize like how powerful of a behemoth they are, which is why I'm surprised they haven't been broken up as a monopoly. Long story short, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post and is lobbying the government to prevent that. With that said, I bite the hand that feeds me all the time. Can you tell?
Yes, we all do. Love-hate relationship with them all the time.
I think Twitch. So like right now, most Amazon ads are like you buy ads within Seller Central. And I personally don't like DSP. Some people do. And that's where you run ads off of Amazon using a different platform. I think it's too expensive and it doesn't work as well. But there's some beta rollouts within advertising on Amazon where you can now do retargeting, you can do remarketing, and you can hit past viewers, past purchasers, and lookalikes. And so what we know is that Amazon's hungry for customer acquisition, right? So a year ago, it was 1 out of 2 households were a Prime member. Well, just in the last year, that's probably gone up to about 3 out of 4, maybe even a little bit higher based on data estimates I've seen. And so Amazon—
For those bad at math, that's 50% to 75%. Okay.
So big increase, right?
Showing my math skills here.
Yeah. And by the way, I think there's certain demographics who will never embrace Amazon. And that's why you got to have your own website to embrace certain demographics. And they don't trust Amazon. Quite frankly, I don't trust Amazon. But I do buy everything on there for what it's worth.
As do I.
I'm lazy, though. I'm a lazy shopper.
You know what I did the other day, though? I couldn't find exactly what I wanted on Amazon.
What were you shopping for? Like unicorn meat?
No.
You can buy unicorn meat on Amazon.
I bet you can. I was shopping for something for my desk, and I couldn't quite describe it. And I did all sorts of searches on Amazon. I couldn't find it. So I went to Target. And then I ended up getting on Lowe's and Home Depot, which is really where I should have been looking in the first place. But I still couldn't find it. So I really think if it's not on Amazon, you're probably not going to find it. And it is just so dang simple. I could literally, log on and buy something as we're talking, and it's just that one click buy.
So
it's
easy.
Just amazing.
Amazon solved for friction and they solve for anxiety. If you go to a website right now, can I find the buy button? Do I know what next step to go? That's friction.
Yeah.
Anxiety is like, do I trust this website with my credit card? So Amazon has solved for that. They also solve for logistics where you got 2-day shipping, 1-day shipping. Prime Now, anybody? man, I'm an impatient person. I can't wait even a couple hours. I'm going to get that delivered to my front door, right? Get my Chipotle while I'm at it. So we've seen Amazon do that. Speed increasing. Nobody can compete with what they have built from an FBA logistics standpoint. Here's where you can beat Amazon. Here's my personal aspiration. If you're listening to this and you know how to open a manufacturing plant, I would love to hear from you, because I think that if you could make consumer goods from raw resource, vertical control, all the way to consumer good, that is literally like take the sand, make a wine glass, and put the saying on it and ship it out to the consumer. I think that vertical control is the future, and that's how you're going to dominate 2 to 5 years from now. So sometimes when I look at Amazon, it's not just where the puck is today. It's where the puck is going to be to score in a hockey game.
Okay, Wayne Gretzky reference right there, folks. Keep in mind that you have to know your own level of incompetence, and going from A to Z, owning the manufacturing from, finding the sand and grinding it up, making a glass, heating it, shipping it to the customer, doing all the advertising. It's not for everybody. You got to stay within your skill set. You've got to know who you are and what you're capable of and what drives you and makes you happy. Some people can take a business to $1 million in revenue, and after that, it gets overwhelming. Others to 20 million, but they know they can't take it to 100. So they've got to understand through experience, right? You and I have some life experience here, and we know our own level of incompetencies. I know mine is not to have 40 employees like you do, right? That's not my strength.
It's a different game, man. I don't run an agency. I run an HR company.
You run an HR company. That's not my skill set. My approach to that is just do the right thing, please. Okay. I don't want to have to manage you.
Yeah.
I'll leave you alone, So we have a certain structure with entrepreneurs for that very, very reason. Mark set it up originally and it works brilliantly. But you've got to know your own level of incompetency. And apparently mine is saying that word right now. I think it's a brilliant idea. A to Z. I have a close friend. He was a client. Now he's a close friend that I've talked about often, that is doing that. He owns a pet supply brand, or pet brands, if you will. He's rolling them all up and is shooting for $1 billion exit. And this is a guy that was invited not to graduate from high school because he got kicked out of so many of them. An immigrant to the U.S., a single father.
True hustler.
7 years ago, he had a sale that was, maybe $20,000 on an exit, and then 200,000, then 400,000, and then a lot bigger. And the next one's going to be $1 billion because he is hustling and he's reverse engineering his path to that. He is that guy that can take the sand, turn it into a wine glass, and market it properly and reach those customers, get influencers, and sell directly to the customer. That's what he's doing with the pet brand. I couldn't do it. It's not my forte, not my skill set.
I just want to not have to depend upon the broken supply chains, right? Like when the trade deal breaks with China and all of a sudden we're going to have to rebuild America's manufacturing, I want to have mine built already.
I hear you.
So, personal aspiration, I may fail, but I grow the agency and that's kind of where I'm focused, and I'm a marketer, but I still want vertical control. I just really wish I could get it.
All right. Anybody in the audience that is an expert in that space, call Steven. He'll have you on the podcast. You can work together. You can build a brand from scratch to, A to Z, all that. All right. So we think Twitch is the future, being able to display ads on Twitch. Who is the Twitch audience, by the way? Who's using Twitch?
Probably half the economy. So
what do they do? I got to look up Twitch apparently.
So I mean, it is exactly what you've described it to be in some sense, where you got kids playing various video games and people watching and interacting, right? It's like having a live webinar, except it's a video game where people are interacting. So there's ads that are played on the platform. So even if I'm wrong about Twitch, I believe we're going to see more external traffic going to Amazon. And that was probably the bigger messaging. I dropped the ball on saying that.
More external traffic going
to Amazon. And some people are like, why would I send my traffic to Amazon? I want to send it to my website, right? I want to control that. Well, it's just simply like your conversion rates are 3 times better on Amazon. That's just bottom line, right? Like that's why people are going to send it to Amazon, and Amazon's going to reward you. Well, the challenge has been You can't have a pixel tracking that Facebook ad going into Amazon successfully. It's completely broken, right? Like Amazon will tell you they have these beta tools in place to track your Facebook sales. They don't work. They simply don't work.
Okay.
Google Ads getting a little better. It's kind of working now. UTM codes are working and whatnot. But it's hard to justify spending external traffic. So what I think Amazon's going to do is that they're going to build their own Google Facebook network. Twitch will be the starting point. And then you will be able to build external traffic out of Amazon ads right directly in Seller Central and pay them ad money to do that. Now, there's a few reasons why I think this is going to happen. Number one, Amazon likes external traffic. Number two, they want to grow Amazon and acquire more customers, right? But number three, we're out of real estate. We are out of real estate on Amazon. Like there is no place to put more ads. And click-through rates are down 11% on sponsored products year over year. They're down 27% on sponsored brand headline ads. And if you land on Amazon right now and type in anything, your entire above the fold is an ad. You have to scroll down to see the organic right now. We're out of space. We'll probably see video ads take a space on detail pages. That's probably another prediction I'll give you because they're out of space. They got to put somewhere.
And the quality of these video ads, can people shoot them with their iPhone if they're decent with their Android device, or do you have to hire an agency?
Today, I think you can get away with that. But what I'm actually trying to hire an animator right now, not a videographer, because the best ads that I've seen on Amazon were like a dog tail wagging and smacking pets' chews on the floor. And it was a huge attention getting device. Like catchy things like that. It's almost like display GIFs, if you will, that are just animated. I think that's the future of video ads. Now, there's certain products, and you went all Billy Mays in your intro on us, right? Like, and I can see the Billy Mays in you, yeah. And in any case, if you can demo a product Billy Mays style, heck yeah, do that. You know, pull out your cell phone and talk about your product and tell me why this is this is the best bottle opener in the world, right? Show me. But for many products, just getting the click is the critical component, not the ad. And so I think animation is the future of video ads on Amazon.
That makes sense. We had a guest from butter.la on the podcast that for those that are going to go ahead and shoot their own, he talks about the proper lighting and all that. He's a film producer out in LA that's turned to e-commerce and helping people with their video production. But he gets very specific on how to do it on your own if you want to, with the proper lighting and all that, if you're going to do it with your iPhone or Android device. Just like Steven is giving you all sorts of tips on how to improve your Amazon business with multiple seller accounts and all of these different things. So people that help first and foremost, I think are doing the right thing. The thing is though, like, I've said a few times on the podcast, I saw an event where somebody got up on stage and gave it all away. And then I had a beer with him afterwards. And I said, "You're giving it all away." He said, "Exactly. The reality is that it's really complex and complicated. And the more information I share, the more I help people, the more they're going to understand and realize that they screw it up on their own if they, think
they need help.
If they have the whole "I've got this" mentality, which is a entrepreneurial affliction. We all think we've got this because we are visionaries. We've started our own companies. We're building them and we think we can do anything or everything. And I think the reality is we can't, you shouldn't. Know your level of incompetency. Hire somebody like Steven. Hire somebody like Butter LA. Just do what you got to do running your own business and managing it for an eventual exit someday.
Speaking of incompetency, when I first started selling wine glasses on Amazon, I tried to take my own photography, right? So I'm holding up a wine glass and guess what? Light refraction with clear glass is impossible. Like, unless you are knowing what you're doing. So I ended up partnering. I like Products on White Photography, use them out of Chicago, and I send them all my client referrals.
What's the name of the company?
Products on White Photography.
Products on White Photography.
And so you gotta find people like that to help with your incompetency. I was on a sales call today with a client, potential client. They actually signed 2 minutes before I got on this podcast with you. And the reason they did is because I got on that call with them and I started looking at their products and I was like, "Hey, did you know you have a hidden suppression?" And she's like, "What's a hidden suppression?" On my ASIN on Amazon. And I said that's when Amazon makes it so your ASIN can't be found, your product, your SKU cannot be found in the search results. And
that sounds very bad.
It's very bad, right? And so that means you're indexing for 0 keywords. It's not a listing yank. And let me tell you, a hidden suppression, Amazon doesn't tell you. There's no red flag on the back end of Seller Central, right? And so if you think you can navigate all of these Amazon problems by yourself, you cannot. There's no tool on the market right now that can detect a hidden suppression. None.
How'd you find it?
So when you search, and this is how you know. So like if you want to know if you have a hidden suppression right now, and anybody who's had a bad sales day or a sales week of late, go and do this right now immediately. Type your ASIN into Amazon.com search. If your product does not show up when you search the ASIN, that's how you know. That's a hidden suppression.
How do you fix it?
You fix it by guessing which problem Amazon doesn't like about your listing. It's almost always the title. Sometimes it's the main image and sometimes it's a bullet point, but 80% of the time it's the title. If you have the word gift in your title, you have a hidden suppression almost guaranteed. Cannot use that word.
Update your title, see if it comes back. How long does it take for it to come back? And this is
15 minutes. So here's what I would do. I would nuke your title down to bare bones, 3 or 4 words max. Then slowly add, and if that fixes it, then I'm right. It was your title. If that fixes it, then slowly add in 2 or 3 words at a time until it resuppresses.
What's your definition of slowly?
Well, every 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, and then once it resuppresses, you know which word caused the trigger. You pull that out and rebuild your title. Whenever you have a listing yank or a listing issue, you should run that same playbook, regardless of suppression, listing yank, or catalog problem, whatever it might be. Nuke the product down to bare bones and ask for reinstatement. Then slowly rebuild it once you understand which problem caused it.
I don't know how the audience feels right now, Stephen, but I certainly think I never want to run my own Amazon account. I'm just going to have you do it because this is all scary stuff.
You definitely need help. Otherwise, you got to listen to like 1,000 podcasts, which, by the way, I think, Joe, you and Quietlite have the best entrepreneur podcast out there, literally, like the best.
I appreciate that. We're just a bunch of guys trying to do things right. I appreciate it. Bunch of people. Amanda's the smartest among us. All right, listen, let's do the obvious. How do people find you? What's the URL? How do they reach out?
So myamazonguy.com, if you contact us, I read every single contact form. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we've got over 500 videos at youtube.com/myamazonguy. And my email address, if you want to reach out to me, podcast@myamazonguy.com. And I read all of those as well. So we know that not everybody listening to us is going to hire us. Even if you just have a problem, you need a point in the right direction, I can ship you an email with a video that will probably give you a point in the right direction. We are happy to add back against the community. If you're an agency listening to me, same thing goes to you. I will help you as well. And the reason I do that is because it's not me against you, it's us against Amazon.
Yeah, listen, the landing page says, do you want to grow your Amazon business or solve a problem? There's 2 options when you get there. He'll help you solve problems as well as grow sales. So Stephen, thank you as always. You are a fountain of wisdom. I appreciate you sharing everything. We have to cut it off because I fear that we could talk for 2 or 3 more hours and I'd get more and more confused, and that's just tough on my day. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
It's an honor here. Thank you for sharing.